We're going to have Kim Kuntz take over here and moderate question and answers. And I know some came in earlier. Folks can be reminded, if you want to enter the Q&A down at the bottom of your screen, for those of you who are on the computer, if you hover over the bottom of your screen, you'll see Q&A, and you can enter a question there. If we don't get to all the questions, Patrick has said that he'll get them up on the answers up on the website. But nonetheless, go ahead and enter your questions there. And there were some that came in prior to the meeting, so we've got those, and then we'll go from there. So Kim, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, I see we got one question up, but one of them that I think we tried to address some of the questions that had been presented. One of them, Paul, I'm wondering if you can answer this. It says, what will the initial investment actually be used for?
Yeah, so the membership fee for limited equity co-ops is for those who can afford it, paid one time up front. For those who need to pay it over time, the cooperative will collect it over time. And really, those are funds that will go into the closing cost for the community. You could draw a line to the working capital account, or to the replacement reserve, or to the purchase price, but there are funds that go into the closing so that the co-op has all the money it needs to purchase the property.
Yeah, Paul, what I've told our residents is that collecting this money, and we've tossed about the idea, tossed around the figure $1,000 per homeowner from a majority of the residents. And we're a pretty large community, 723 homes. And so if we had 400 households pooling $1,000 each, that's $400,000. And what I've pointed out is that that is just a drop in the bucket compared to even a regular 5% down payment on 83 acres of land in San Jose, where in 1987, land was valued between $2.3 million and $3.5 million per acre. So what that $400,000, if that's what we're able to pool at the beginning, is going to do two things. First, it's going to ever so slightly lower the amount of money we have to borrow. But secondly, that's what your lenders, like MetLife, are going to be looking at to say, is this really a good risk for us? Are there enough people who are committed to staying in this mobile home park that we should go ahead and loan them the money? We're not going to be left holding the bag at later. Would you characterize that as accurate?
Yeah, so I think all of what you said is accurate, Patrick. Yep.
So let me see, there's a couple other, will there be any upfront costs before the monthly cost is implemented? I think the share price, I think that's been answered. Do you want to add anything to that? Rent versus fees, will we be paying more per month or less? Paul, it might be for you.
Sure. People use terms, Kim used carrying charge, which is a traditional cooperative term for the fees. You may have heard any one of us say lot rent or site fee. In a manufactured home community co-op, there is the membership fee one time, and then there's a monthly site fee or monthly carrying charge or monthly lot rent. The money that you pay the community owner today on a monthly basis, which you probably call lot rent, it's different in different parts of the country, but a lot of people refer to it as lot rent. That is the same money that the co-op will collect in order to pay its operating expenses and its debt service. It would be unprecedented if you acquired the community and reduced the monthly site fee. That has not been accomplished anywhere in the 267 communities that we've assisted, and I don't know that it's true of any cooperative in the country. Co-ops, there are co-ops that have bought and maintained the current site fee, but by and large, co-ops are buying and having to raise their site fee because, as Patrick noted, I mean, there's a cost to acquiring the land, the manufactured home community, and it is going to be substantial. The only way you're going to know what the site fee will need to be in order to buy it is to work through the process. Once the community owner provides you an opportunity, once the co-op is formed and you work through due diligence and assess all of the cost and all of the financing opportunities, then you will know whether you'll know the final cost. And it is at that point in the process where the members vote whether to purchase or not. You're not going to vote whether to purchase the property as a co-op until you have all the information you need to make an informed decision. And there's just no shortcut to it. You have to do the work. You've got to organize and you've got to do the research. You've got to go through the due diligence, appraisals, engineering, and understand the full cost. And then you vote to purchase or not. And that's how we work with communities. And that's the only way to do it. It is a commercial real estate asset at the end of the day. And that's how commercial real estate is acquired by whether it's a co-op or whether it's a commercial investor.
As economists say, there is no such thing as a free lunch. We will need to, if we purchase our part so that the land is under the control of a board of directors elected by the residents, then we are going to have to buy that at whatever the market rate is at that time. Now, you've heard from Paul, you've heard from Nancy, you've heard from Kimber, that over time, because co-ops lack this profit motive, they've been able to keep much more of a lid on space rent increases than you would expect. Every year, if you live at Westwinds, you get this letter from the management reminding you how much money they could be charging you if it weren't for San Jose rent control. So we expect that we will be able, as a co-op, to keep the lid on rents better over time. But there's a lot of unknowns. If you pressed me for, tell me that my rent is going to be the same or my rent is going to be lower or that you're not going to increase it for X years, can't promise that yet because we don't have the figures yet.
This is a question, Kim, maybe you can answer. How do you handle evictions for non-payment of rent?
Yeah, we turn that over to an attorney. We have a standard and we're not, I always say that we deal with it in the most compassionate way possible, and is that to refuse to let people get too far behind. So we get an attorney involved after 30 days and let us go out. There's an actual procedure. After this many days late, you get this notice. After this many days late, you get a letter from the management company, and after this many days, you get an attorney letter, and that attorney letter explains to you what's going to happen in terms of if you don't pay the rent and get it up on time, and get caught up on time, and then we elect to move forward with an eviction process if we can. And as I say to people, I said that's the most compassionate thing we can do, because if you can't pay it, if you get too far behind, you'll never be able to pay it. So we're not going to let you get there. Our collections is, I have to tell you, is over 100%, because, and the reason it's over 100% is because you get fined if you're past 15 days. It's a late fee. And in some cases, we've had homes turned over to us because they evacuated them, and then we resell them and we make a profit on that. So our collections are rarely ever go under 98, 99%.
So there's a couple of questions that revolve around, is Westwinds for sale? What if the Nicholson family doesn't want to sell to you, to the residents? Paul, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So we don't know. as far as I know, and Patrick is closer to this than I am, but we don't know that the Nicholsons will sell eventually. What they've apparently publicly made clear was an intent to close the community down, and your fast action as neighbors with the city council put a stop to that, at least hopefully permanently. But ultimately, they are the landowner, the community owner, and it'll be their decision whether to provide the homeowners an opportunity or not. The state of California does not require them to give you an opportunity to purchase. It is going to have to be going to have to win their interest, and that's why the education work, understanding the process, teaming up early on here, and approaching them, as Patrick said, after the litigation is complete with ELS apparently, but making them aware that the homeowners have an interest here is absolutely important, and try to open a dialogue with them. But ultimately, it is their choice whether to sell the property and whether to provide that opportunity to you.
Now, there are no guarantees in life. So we don't know that we can't tell you up front, hey, we are going to be successful in this. All that we can do is do as much legwork, as much preparation as we possibly can, so that if and when the opportunity presents itself, we are like all set to go. We have all our ducks in a row and we're ready to move forward.
There's a couple of questions also talking about variability in space rents. If Westwinds became a co-op, would you anticipate a single fee, or would it be driven by individual rents at the time?
Both Kim and Nancy, I think.
With this transition, when Nancy and Kimber, when you transition, people were paying space rent, and maybe it was different for each space based on how long they had lived there. I have no idea. How did that transition? Kimber?
Yeah.
Yes. When we first purchased, we had like 20 different rent rates because the owners had favorites. They had people that had been here a long time and then sometimes didn't go up on their rent for 2 or 3 years in a row. Everybody who new came in was paying $150, $200 a month more. And we also had a poison pill in our purchase and sale that our original owners put there because they didn't want us to buy it, which was to effectively be rent control for 4 years. But after the 4 years, we equalized the rents. Everyone knew that up front when we purchased it. There was a pro forma done that showed them where the rents would be in 4 years. They pretty much went to that level, but they went to that level for everyone. There was no graduation or graduated rents for anybody in the community. It's the same for everyone. Everyone treated equally.
Paul, do you have anything to add to that?
It is a choice of the cooperative. So your co-op would have to make a decision through the purchase process how you're going to manage that as equitably and as you can. It's not an easy situation on the face of it. Money, the money issues are the hard part, as Nancy reflected, but it is ultimately a choice of the membership how you're going to manage that.
Nancy, do you have anything to add?
When we were purchasing, our previous owner had different rent rates too. She would go up every 2 years, so it depended on how long you've been here. When you actually moved in, it was on your 2-year anniversary, she would go up $20 every 2 years. So we had different rent rates, and when we purchased, it was a very large amount of money, as Paul knows, for our purchase. And it was a $27 million purchase, and we had to go up on the rent, but we were all paying the same. All members are paying the same. We do have a few non-members that are still here, and we are charging them more money they pay a different rent rate. So like now our rent just went up $5, and that's for members and non-members. And we went up $2 the second year. We went up $2. And 3 of them, the non-members joined right away, became members because they didn't want to pay the extra $2. So we were wondering with the $5 increase, whether more of the non-members will wind up joining and becoming members. There's only a few left. I think there's only 4 or 5 left that are non-members. They did have a choice when we purchased the community. They did have a choice to become a member or not. But they don't have a vote if they're not a member. I have one question for Paul. Our membership fee in this area, I don't know if this is everywhere, but I think it's something that should be touched on. If it is everywhere, it's refundable. Our membership fee is refundable. Is it refundable out in California? That's important. People need to know that.
Yeah, so when you purchase your share, membership interest, your membership share, then when you sell your home, you literally sell the same share back to the co-op for the amount that you paid, the same $1,000, let's say, that you paid for it. The co-op pays you the $1,000 as you're selling your home and moving out, and the new buyer coming in pays $1,000. That is effectively what defines a limited equity cooperative in this case, is that the equity share does not appreciate, and that was somebody's question. The membership share does not appreciate. The value of your home does appreciate. So you can imagine, as Kim said in his comments, as the co-op's site fees fall below market, as the community maintenance and community spirit, if you have a waiting list for homes is a good indicator of this, then you're going to see healthy house prices, but the cost of the membership share and ideally the site fee remains affordable over the long term. That's to Patrick's earlier point, maintaining a level of affordability in the community.
So this is a question that is kind of unique when you're an owner, which is what happens when the loan is paid off? You had that, Kim, happen?
We have not had it happen, but there'll be one hell of a celebration. No, I mean, we're a community. We're halfway through our loan because we were able to secure a 30-year loan when they were available. But in any case, we suspect that when that happens, that the rent will obviously be able to come down a bit, but more importantly, we'll be able to maintain the properties much better. Right now, people are responsible for their own lots. I suspect that people will say, because we're an over 55 community, people will elect to keep the lot fees not as much as they were, but keep them up so that we can have we can add some maintenance staff that would maintain our lawns and trim our shrubs and maybe if you shovel our walkways. So like I said, there'll be a celebration when that happens.
So you would add services in effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what will happen.
What about taxes? There's several questions about taxes here. One seems to, I'll just address one. The only type of taxes that you're going to have are property taxes. That's what we all have. So I don't know, Paul, do you want to speak to the taxes or do you want me to do that because it's California?
Yeah, California. Yeah, your local knowledge would be helpful here.
Yeah, taxes. It's the home park is not tax exempt. We still have to pay for schools. We still have to pay for all the things that taxes bring us, and the tax rate will be reassessed based on the sale. However, there is negotiation that can happen with the county, And that's very, very common in cooperatives and the value of the taxes. I do want to say that as that's a one-time fee, so Prop 13 rules still hold, and the entire development is not reassessed every time there's a turnover of individual homes. So the same tax situations that exist now are going to be there when the if the park is resident owned.
And also importantly, if the land is owned by the co-op, then the co-op is the one who's paying the property taxes every year. Whereas I know there are some who are pushing for individual ownership. Going that route would mean not only taking out a mortgage for purchasing that, pie slice of land, but in addition being responsible for the greatly increased property taxes that you would pay each year because you own the land. Paul, you want to add to that?
I just, well, since you brought up the, subdivision or condominiumization issue, I'll add to what Kim noted earlier. She really touched on this, but the decision of whether to subdivide individual lots or to sell the entire parcel as a manufactured home community is really not yours as a homeowner in the community. Ultimately, the community owner will make that decision. You'll have, as you've demonstrated already, some political influence potentially how that goes, but you don't have a role in it because you don't have title to the land. So for the current owner, the sale of the entire community as a manufactured home community has some benefits in that it is a faster sale, and it does not involve the legal engineering and individual lot sales to individual home buyers or homeowners that then have to go out and individually finance that lot purchase. And these are not inexpensive lots. So more than likely, people are not reaching into their bank account to buy the land. This has to be financed. And there will be an enormous amount of work involved in each of those individual transactions. So this is, the subdivision route would be if the community owner wanted to take this over many, many years. And for that, they're going to charge the land purchaser, the individual lot buyers, yourselves, a lot more money because they've taken all that time, spent all of that money, and faced all the hurdles to get there. So it is a much more expensive approach on a lot by lot basis if that's how the transition were to go. If it goes as a manufactured home community, a single parcel or the 4 parcels together, what have you, then that's a much faster, lower cost transaction for the seller. And the cooperative option, therefore, in terms of you as homeowners, how do you get security of the land under your homes? It is by one of those 2 means. It's either through individual subdivision, condominiumization, or it's through resident ownership. What's interesting and noteworthy from an association standpoint, both land ownership models carry with it some association management responsibilities. In the case of a condo, you still have all the common land and infrastructure that needs to be maintained, paid for, and therefore you're going to need, as you know, association membership and association fees and to manage the common property. Obviously, with the cooperative, there's that much more to manage because the co-op owns the individual lots in effect, but at a management level, they're very much the same. It's really just the upfront process of how you get to gaining security. And it's really not going to be your choice, but you'll be informed through the process that the board's going through here and getting educated and empowered. You're at least going to be in a position to respond to whatever you're presented. And that's really important. You got to protect yourselves.
And let me clarify, in terms of our mobile home park, some of you who are listening do not pay property taxes now. You pay an annual renewal of your registration. Others of you do pay property taxes. That there was a time when you had a choice as to which route to take when you purchased your mobile home. And once you chose one route, you oftentimes didn't have a chance to switch to the other one. So some of you, like myself, pay an annual property tax, but that property tax is just for the house that sits on the land, which is continually depreciating. So I shared with someone how, yes, I own a mobile home and I pay, so many hundreds of dollars in property taxes every year. And they just laughed at me because that is nowhere near what you would pay if you owned the land.
Here's another question I think that's important. Is membership mandatory or voluntary for all mobile home owners in the park? Let me see. Paul, you want to take that one?
I'd actually send it over to Nancy or Kim. This is a standard co-op question.
Go ahead, Nancy.
When we were purchasing, I'm not sure about the laws. I know what the laws are here. I don't know if they're different everywhere, but we needed to have 51%, I believe it was, Paul, in order to do the purchase. 51% of the residents needed to become members, wanted to become members, had to sign the petition in order for us to purchase. And you didn't have to become a member. And like I said earlier, we did have some people who did not become members, but they pay a different rent rate, and slowly but surely they're all becoming members. It's to their advantage to be a member because they have a say, they have a vote, they can attend meetings. If they're not a member, they can't. And it's really to their advantage.
Yeah, we made it as easy as possible for people to be members, but there was no advantage to not being a member. I think we charged 10% more for their lot fee, and they didn't get a vote. So the increase in lot fee more than paid for membership over the course of a year. And we made it easy by, doing installments if they couldn't afford it all at once. And we pushed the idea that you want to be a member because you want to have a say in what's going on in the community. So we had a few holdouts because they were just mad that we purchased the community and they didn't want us to. But eventually they saw the light. We haven't for quite a few years had anyone who's a non-member. And when people purchase here, they have to become a member. That's a requirement.
There's a question that's been up here for a while about is it only for 55 plus or all age communities?
These are two 55 plus communities, but the bulk of the communities in our network are all age communities. It's a great, probably 2/3, just to be more specific than bulk, are all age.
Okay, let me see. I think we've kind of covered a lot of these questions now. They're coming in from two different places, so I'm trying to answer some of them directly.
Someone asked about can someone speak to the lawsuit with the Nicholsons? What is it? Patrick, can you just answer that?
Sure. Well, I can tell you, I don't know that much more than everyone who was here in January knows. January 3rd, the management company, MHC, also now known as Equity Lifestyle, posted a note on every carport saying that the landowners had requested at the end of the management lease that all residents be evicted. So as of August 2022. And MHC, we're taking them to court over this. The landowners have since denied that they made that request, but without being able to talk to them, we don't know whether redevelopment is something in the back of their minds that they want to do sometime, and if they do, how soon is that? Given the price of land in San Jose, that seems like redevelopment would be a pretty attractive option to them. But no, I don't know what their motives and plans are.
There's a question of the initial investment, which we said that share price is no more than $1,000 have to be decided. It's open, but it will be no more than $1,000. But here's a question also. The park has many problems like road and driveway issues, aging electrical system, etc. How would that be covered? Nancy or Kim, can you share some information? You kind of touched on this in your presentations.
Yeah, we have a capital fund that we part of our rent goes into a capital fund every year, and we set aside a 20-year plan. When you have an infrastructure, we deal with emergencies every year. We deal with infrastructure issues. As an example, right? We had a 10-year plan to remove underground storage tanks. And the bank gave us 10 years to do that, and we did do that. That came out of our capital plan. When those were paid off, we kept putting the same amount of money in our capital plan. I mean, we've got quite a stash there now, but now the roads are at a point where we've got 3.5 miles of roads, and so those roads are getting to a point of needing to be replaced. So little by little, every year, we take a section of road and replace that. That's part of your rent. Part of your rent goes to building a capital fund. You have a 20-year plan that says what you're going to do over the 20 years. You know, the roof of one of the clubhouses has to be replaced in 2027, and so we're setting aside a certain amount of money, and with inflation, knowing what it's going to cost us, so that money is there when that happens. We have never had an assessment. We don't ever expect to have an assessment because we know what's getting old and when it's due to be replaced, and we have a capital plan that sets aside a right amount of money to do that when it comes due.
So by assessment, you mean you don't ask people help us pay for this particular thing?
Yeah, there's no special. There's a lot of condominiums will have they won't have enough money in their account to replace all the underground utilities or whatever, or whatever needs, and all of a sudden they're stuck with this absolute need they need to have done within a year, and there's no money in the bank for that. So you're assessed $200 a month for the next 2 years to cover this cost. Won't happen here.
Nancy, you have anything to add?
We're almost identical to what Kim said. We have a 10-year plan. They had a 20-year plan. We have a 10-year plan, and it's working out. We're new. We're fairly new. We'll be 3 years next month, so we're not that far into it yet, but we are doing what we need to do. And it's exactly what Kim said.
We're kind of running to the end of the time right now, and I think we've tried to answer as many questions as we can. If they're quick, easy answers, we'll type them in and try to get those, or we'll funnel them through Patrick. Because you have a great association and to continue with what's happening here. So I think that this isn't like the end.